The gleaming halls of the Galactic Military Academy fell silent as four humans entered the simulation chamber. Instructor Zexfall, a six-limbed veteran from the respected Arxian Empire, flicked his sensory appendages with barely concealed disdain. Commence the impenetrable fortress scenario, he announced, certain these primitive newcomers would fail spectacularly. For 100 years, the most brilliant tactical minds from 2,000 worlds had attempted to solve this legendary simulation, the fastest completion, 3 months of simulated time. Behind reinforced observation glass, dozens of high-ranking officials gathered, eager to witness the humans' humiliation and justify revoking Earth's probationary membership status. Maya felt the artificial atmosphere shift as the simulation initiated. The air carried a metallic tang, different from Earth's oxygen-nitrogen mix but still breathable. The chamber's pristine white walls dissolved into a tactical display of a distant star system, complete with swirling nebula gases and the faint shimmer of defensive arrays. Subject species: human. Classification: Deathworlders. Gravity tolerance: 3.2 standard units, announced the simulation AI in its emotionless voice. Scenario parameters locked. Beginning countdown. Jackson rolled his shoulders, his dark skin glistening under the holographic starlight. At 2 meters tall, he towered over most Academy instructors. "They've rigged this against us," he whispered, jaw clenched. "Look at the atmospheric composition. It's thinner than what we trained in." "Typical," Sasha replied, her voice barely audible. Her pale fingers danced over the tactical display, cataloging defensive positions with machine-like efficiency. "They're expecting our lungs to give out. They don't understand human adaptability." Diego adjusted his simulation suit, standard issue, but tight across his chest. 3 months of academy training had only increased his muscle mass, much to the confusion of the xenophysiologists. Anyone noticed the gravitational anomalies? The fortress is positioned at the Lagrange point between those twin moons. Interesting choice. Behind the observation glass, Admiral Kelvor of the High Council leaned forward, compound eyes reflecting the simulation's glow. "These humans," he chittered to his aide, "barely achieved faster than light travel 80 years ago. Their inclusion was a political concession to the Outer Rim factions." "Indeed, Admiral," responded Commander Tolnix, her feathered crest rising with anticipation. "After today's inevitable failure, we can begin the process of revoking their probationary status. The simulation will prove what we've known all along. Deathworlders are too unstable, too primitive for integration into the galactic community." The countdown reached 0. The simulation solidified around the human cadets, a complete sensory experience indistinguishable from reality. Gravity shifted to lunar standard, approximately 1/6 of Earth's crushing pull. The humans felt suddenly lighter, stronger. "Whoa," Maya whispered, taking an experimental jump that sent her nearly 2 meters upward. "This is going to change things." In the observation room, senior xenobiologist Futrell adjusted her instruments, mandibles clicking with scientific curiosity. "Fascinating. Their muscular density is providing unexpected advantages in reduced gravity. Their movements should be uncoordinated, but they're adapting with remarkable speed." "Beginner's luck," scoffed General Vrax, his silicon-based form shifting impatiently. The simulation's first phase always seems simple. Wait until they encounter the neutron shield generators. Inside the simulation, the humans gathered around a holographic display of their target, a fortress nestled within the cratered surface of a dead moon. Its shield dome glistened against the starscape, powered by 3 interlocking generator stations. Surrounding it, automated defense turrets swept methodical patterns across the dusty surface. Standard approach would be a frontal assault after weakening their shields, Maya observed, studying energy fluctuations. "That's what they expect. That's what everyone before us has tried." Diego knelt, running simulated soil through his fingers. "Interesting. High concentration of rare minerals. This moon has been mined extensively." Jackson's eyes narrowed as he studied the star system's mechanics. Those asteroids in the outer belt, they're not randomly distributed. There's a pattern to their movement. Sasha's lips curved into a slight smile. I think I see where you're going with this. Instead of attacking the fortress directly, we use the environment itself as our weapon, Maya finished, eyes gleaming with sudden inspiration. The observation room buzzed with confusion as the humans huddled together, pointing at astronomical features the previous participants had largely ignored. Admiral Kelvor's aide leaned closer to the glass. Sir, they appear to be ignoring the fortress entirely. Impossible, the Admiral responded, mandibles clicking with annoyance. The simulation requires neutralizing the command center. What could they possibly be planning? The humans broke their huddle, faces set with determination. Against all conventional military doctrine, they turned their backs on the fortress and began moving rapidly toward the system's outer reaches. Simulation timer. T plus 7 minutes, announced the AI. Human subjects have departed primary objective zone. Maya Chen wiped sweat from her brow as the simulation environment materialized around the team. 3 months at the academy had taught them they were unwelcome curiosities. Jackson Okoye flexed his powerful shoulders. Muscles developed under Earth's crushing gravity appeared grotesque to the willowy species that dominated galactic politics. Sasha Petrov's enhanced reflexes made other cadets nervous during combat training, while Diego Rey's ability to function after injuries that would kill most beings earned him fearful glances in the medical wing. The four shared knowing looks as the scenario loaded. This wasn't just a test, it was their one chance to prove humans belonged among the stars. Timer continuing. T plus 9 minutes, the AI announced, its synthetic voice echoing across the simulated lunar landscape. The humans had reached the edge of a massive crater, gazing upward at the glittering asteroid belt circling the distant primary. Remember our first day? Diego asked, calibrating his equipment. When instructor Anx Vix made us run the endurance course in triple standard gravity. Jackson chuckled, the sound strange in the thin atmosphere. She thought we'd collapse after the first kilometer, called us fragile oxygen brothers. Her face when you completed the entire circuit without stopping, Sasha added, her lips curving upward. Priceless. Then came the excuses, Maya said, her voice tinged with bitterness. Humans have unfair cardiovascular advantages. Humans evolved on a death trap. Humans aren't playing by civilized rules. She adjusted her tactical display, as if evolving on a world that tried to kill us every day was somehow cheating. Behind the observation glass, the Academy officials watched with growing confusion. Commandant Zguvaz, the Academy's senior officer, entered the room, his crystalline form refracting light as he moved. Report, he demanded, voice resonating from multiple surfaces of his body. Admiral Kelvor straightened. The human subjects have abandoned the primary objective. They appear to be studying celestial mechanics. Impossible, the commandant replied. The simulation has only one victory condition, neutralizing the fortress command center. In the simulation, the humans had reached a promontory overlooking the star system's orbital plane. Below them stretched the magnificent desolation of the lunar surface, countless craters pockmarking gray dust that had remained undisturbed for billions of years. I still remember our first tactical exercise, Sasha said, calculating trajectories on her wrist computer. The Rix Theri ambassador's offspring refused to be paired with me, said my movements were unnaturally fast and predatory. The xenobiology lab wasn't much better, Diego added, setting up monitoring equipment. Dr. Futrell wanted to study my primitive fight or flight responses, treated me like a lab specimen rather than a cadet. Jackson positioned himself at the edge of the ridge, using his enhanced strength to drive anchoring spikes into the regolith. The worst was the dining hall. Remember how they installed separate ventilation systems, claimed our mammalian scent disturbed their sensory organs. Yet here we are, Maya said, her voice firm with resolve. 4 humans from a primitive death world, about to solve their unsolvable puzzle. The observation room had grown more crowded as word spread through the academy. Junior instructors pressed against the back wall, while senior officials claimed positions near the front. Xenobiologist Futrell's appendages moved rapidly across her instruments. "Fascinating," she murmured. "Their core temperatures should be dropping in that thin atmosphere, yet they're maintaining homeostasis. And their muscle efficiency in reduced gravity, it's remarkable." "Irrelevant," snapped General Vrax. "They've completely misunderstood the simulation parameters. The fortress cannot be bypassed." In the simulation, the humans had completed their preparations. Jackson stood with legs braced against the lunar surface, tether lines connecting him to the others. Maya's fingers danced across a portable gravitational analyzer while Diego monitored the approaching orbital bodies. Sasha had positioned herself as spotter, calculating final trajectories. "T plus 13 minutes, the AI announced. "Ready?" Maya asked, looking at each team member in turn. They nodded, faces set with determination. "Initiating Phase 1, she declared. "Operation Earthshaker commences now." The humans positioned themselves in a formation that made no tactical sense to the watching officials. Rather than deploying weapons or shields, they seemed to be preparing to catch something. "What are they doing?" Commandant Zgavas demanded, his crystalline form vibrating with irritation. The answer came moments later as a small asteroid, roughly 20 meters across, appeared over the horizon, moving in a controlled descent toward the humans' position. Somehow, they had calculated its trajectory and altered its course using minimal input. "Impossible," whispered one of the senior tacticians. "They're using natural orbital mechanics as a weapon." The observation room erupted in disbelief as the humans prepared to intercept the approaching celestial body, a tactic so unconventional, so primitive, and yet so brilliantly adapted to their unique physiology that no simulation designer had ever considered it. "Brace for impact," Jackson called out, his powerful frame anchoring the team against what was to come. "And remember, they think we're too primitive to belong here. Let's show them what Deathworlders can really do." "Conventional approach guarantees failure," Maya observed, studying the holographic fortress nestled on a cratered moon. Rather than immediately deploying standard siege equipment like their predecessors, the humans examined factors others had dismissed. Jackson crouched, feeling the simulated gravity. "We're at 0.3 Earth standard. Their defense calculations assume normal movement limitations." Diego ran soil samples through his analyzer, discovering unusual mineral compositions beneath the surface. Sasha pulled up historical Earth conflicts from ancient Mongolia to modern urban warfare. "They expect a frontal assault or standard orbital bombardment," she noted with a slight smile. "Let's think like humans instead." The asteroid approached with gathering momentum, its cratered surface growing larger in their field of vision. To conventional military doctrine, positioning themselves in the path of a celestial impact seemed suicidal. To humans evolved on a world where danger bred innovation, it was calculated risk. "Impact in 40 seconds, Diego called out, monitoring approach vectors. "Everyone remember the physics here. Lunar gravity means different terminal velocity, different momentum transfer." Jackson widened his stance, muscle fibers tensing beneath his simulation suit. "Ready to redirect on my mark." In the observation chamber, chaos had erupted. Junior officials scrambled between monitoring stations while senior commanders demanded explanations. "They're attempting to use an asteroid as a kinetic weapon." Commander Tolnix's feathered crest flattened in disbelief. "The simulation parameters don't allow for planetary-scale destruction." Xenobiologist Futrell's appendages waved excitedly. No, observe their positioning. They're not directing it at the fortress. They're going to intercept it themselves." "Preposterous," General Vrax scoffed. "Even in reduced gravity, the impact forces would shatter their primitive endoskeletons." The commandant's crystalline form vibrated with new frequencies. "Their vital signs should be showing fear responses." Elevated heart rates, stress hormones. He paused, studying the biometric displays. But they're calm. Their cardiovascular systems are preparing. Inside the simulation, the humans had formed their reception line. The approaching asteroid now dominated the sky above them, a pockmarked harbinger of destruction to most species, a tool to the Deathworlders. 20 seconds, Diego announced. Remember, contact points at the designated coordinates only. We're not stopping it. We're redirecting. Just like the Prague avalanche incident, Sasha said, her body coiled in anticipation. Or the Himalayan glacier collapse, Jackson added, eyes fixed on his impact zone. Maya's voice cut through the thin atmosphere. Angles of deflection calculated. We need 5 degrees port trajectory adjustment, 3-degree vertical. The observation room fell silent as the unthinkable approached. The asteroid, a 20-meter mass of compressed minerals and ice, descended toward the human team at velocity that would pulverize most species. T plus 15 minutes, the AI announced calmly. Impact in 3, 2, 1. Now, Diego shouted. What happened next defied the expectations of every non-human observer. Instead of being crushed, the humans executed a perfectly timed series of kinetic redirections. Jackson absorbed the initial contact, his powerful legs driving into the lunar surface as he transferred momentum through his arms, deflecting the asteroid's path by crucial degrees. Sasha and Diego, positioned at calculated points, applied secondary vector changes, using their bodies as impact instruments. Behind the glass, Futrell's instruments recorded impossible data. Their bone density is withstanding forces that would shatter our strongest alloys. Their muscle fiber responses. I've never seen anything like it. The asteroid's trajectory changed, not dramatically, but precisely. The humans had calculated a transfer of momentum that altered its course by exactly the angles Maya had specified. Status check. Maya called out once the asteroid continued past them, now on a new vector. Functional, Jackson reported, though blood trickled from his nose. A minor barotrauma from the pressure differential. Operational, Sasha confirmed, flexing a wrist that would have shattered in any other species. Minor contusions, nothing critical, Diego added, already checking the asteroid's new trajectory on his instruments. The observation room erupted in incredulous debate. That should have killed them instantly, exclaimed a junior tactical officer. Their musculoskeletal systems evolved on a high-gravity world with punishing impact events, Futrell explained, mandibles clicking rapidly with excitement. Earth experiences regular meteorological extremes, tectonic instabilities, and gravitational stresses that forced evolutionary adaptations we never needed. The commandant's crystalline form pulsed with new patterns. They're not using the asteroid as a weapon against the fortress. They're using it for secondary gravitational disruption, Admiral Kelvor finished, compound eyes widening in realization. The fortress shield generators are calibrated to withstand direct attacks, but their power harmonics are vulnerable to gravitational anomalies. On the monitors, the redirected asteroid continued its new course, not toward the fortress itself, but toward a precise point in space where its gravitational influence would create a cascade of effects throughout the local system. T plus 16 minutes, the AI announced. Gravitational anomaly detected in Sector 4. Shield harmonics experiencing fluctuation patterns. The humans regrouped, checking each other for injuries while monitoring the effects of their unconventional tactic. Phase 1 complete, Maya announced, a smile playing in her lips. Now for the part they really won't expect. While unseen academic observers exchanged confused glances, the humans located a small, ice-rich asteroid in the simulation's outer ring system. Moving with strength impossible in their homeworld gravity, they positioned themselves around the celestial body. Angle of approach needs to be precise, Jackson calculated as they began physically altering its trajectory through coordinated impacts. In the observation room, an astrophysicist dropped her datapad. They're manually steering an asteroid. The room erupted in disbelief. Their bodies should be breaking apart under those forces. But the humans continued, their forms silhouetted against the stars, performing a task that required strength no other intelligent species possessed. T plus 17 minutes. The AI announced as the humans regrouped, lunar dust coating their simulation suits. Shield harmonics destabilizing at projected rates. Maya confirmed, studying her tactical display. The gravitational waves are creating ripple effects throughout the defensive grid. Diego pointed toward the fortress in the distance. Look, power fluctuations in the northern quadrant. The shield generators are compensating, just as we predicted. The humans moved with purpose now, traversing the lunar surface in long, bounding strides that covered ground with astonishing efficiency. Each leap would have been impossible on Earth, but in lunar gravity, their powerful leg muscles propelled them forward like organic projectiles. In the observation chamber, the mood had shifted from dismissive to bewildered. Tactical specialists huddled around simulation data, attempting to understand the human strategy. The shield generators are programmed to maintain equilibrium against conventional attacks, explains Senior Defense Analyst Verktal, her translucent digits gesturing at fluctuating energy readings. They've never been tested against gravitational anomalies of this precise amplitude and frequency. Because no one would think to use an asteroid as a precision instrument, muttered Admiral Kelvor, compound eyes narrowing. It's primitive, elegant in its simplicity. The commandant's crystalline form pulsed with frequencies indicating deep concern. What are they planning next? The shield fluctuations alone won't breach the fortress. Inside the simulation, the humans had reached their second position, a ridge overlooking a vast field of regolith. Below them stretched a plain of moon dust nearly 50 meters deep, accumulated over billions of years of micrometeorite impacts. Phase 2, Maya announced, nodding to Sasha. Sasha unfolded a device that looked deceptively simple, a mechanical launcher that seemed primitive compared to the energy weapons used by most galactic species. She began calculating angles, accounting for lunar gravity, solar radiation pressure, and the absence of atmosphere. "What is that archaic contraption?" asked the junior officer in the observation room. Futrell leaned forward, adjusting her visual sensors. "It appears to be a physical projectile launcher, based on kinetic principles rather than energy discharge." Jackson and Diego had positioned themselves at specific points along the ridge, setting up similar devices while Maya coordinated their efforts via tactical display. "Humans," General Vrack scoffed, silicon-based forms shifting restlessly, always relying on kinetic solutions, so primitive. But the technobiologist appendages waved in disagreement. Not primitive, efficient. Energy weapons require power sources, are affected by electromagnetic interference, and leave signature radiation. Physical projectiles in vacuum maintain momentum indefinitely and require no power beyond the initial launch. On the lunar surface, Sasha finished her calculations. Targeting complete, accounting for all variables including solar wind pressure and magnetic field interactions. "Fire on my mark," Maya ordered, her voice steady. 3, 2, 1. Execute. The humans launched dozens of projectiles in perfectly synchronized sequence. The simple metal spheres arced through the vacuum, following trajectories calculated with precision that impressed even the most skeptical observers. There, dusting the shield perimeter, Commander Telnix's feathered crest rose in confusion. The projectile struck the lunar surface around the fortress's perimeter, disappearing into the deep regolith like stones into water. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then the lunar surface began to shift. "Avalanche mechanics," gasped an astrophysicist. "They're triggering a cascade effect in the regolith. The moon dust, accumulated over eons and practically frictionless in vacuum, began flowing like a liquid, creating pressure waves that propagated through the surface material. The fortress, built on what its designers assumed was stable ground, began experiencing subtle but critical foundation shifts. Magnificent, breathed Futrell. They're using lunar dust as a fluid dynamic medium. Inside the simulation, the humans watched as their calculated avalanche propagated across the plain. The fortress shields, designed to repel energy weapons and physical impacts from above, did nothing to prevent the substrate beneath from behaving like a liquid. Secondary shield generators experiencing power fluctuations, the AI announced. Attempting compensation. Perfect. Maya smiled. The gravitational anomaly from the asteroid redirect combined with foundation instability. They're having to reroute power to structural integrity fields. Jackson checked his chronometer. T plus 18 minutes. We're ahead of schedule. Diego pointed toward their final target. The Eastern Shield generator is operating at 117% capacity to compensate, core temperature rising. Time for Phase 3, Sasha said, eyes gleaming. The part where Deathworlders show them what we do best. In the observation room, the officials had fallen silent, watching in growing amazement as these supposedly primitive beings executed a strategy of such elegant complexity that it had never been considered in a century of attempts. They're not just strong, the commandant observed, crystalline surfaces reflecting data patterns. They're perceiving connections between environmental factors that our most advanced tactical simulations overlooked. T plus 19 minutes, announced the AI. Eastern Shield generator approaching critical temperature threshold. The simulation clock ticked forward as the officials watched in growing amazement. The humans functioned in near-vacuum conditions that would kill most species, their remarkable cardiovascular systems adapting to oxygen deprivation. They endured temperature extremes without protection, their bodies designed to survive everything from Arctic tundra to scorching deserts. Their homeworld did this to them, whispered the Academy's chief xenobiologist, frantically recording data. Earth forced them to evolve these capabilities. The asteroid, now perfectly positioned, created a precision impact that disrupted the fortress's primary shield generators without damaging the settlement. A surgical strike using natural celestial mechanics. Eastern Shield generator at 123% capacity, the AI announced. Thermal failsafes engaging. The humans regrouped at their designated rally point, a small crater 2 kilometers from the fortress perimeter. Despite the physical exertion of the past 19 minutes, their vital signs showed remarkable resilience. Heart rates elevated but stable, oxygen saturation optimal despite the thin atmosphere, core temperatures self-regulating against the extreme cold of lunar shadow. Systems analysis confirms our prediction, Maya reported, studying her tactical display. The gravitational anomaly combined with substrate instability has forced their defensive grid to prioritize structural integrity over perimeter security. Diego tapped his sensor readings. The Eastern generator's cooling systems are overloading. They're cycling between primary and backup systems every 43 seconds to prevent thermal shutdown. Creating a predictable pattern, Sasha noted, eyes narrowing. A rhythm we can exploit. Jackson unclipped 4 small devices from his utility belt, simple mechanical timers that seemed absurdly archaic compared to the quantum chronometers used by advanced species. Old Earth technology, he explained with a grin. No emissions signature, no power source to detect, no digital systems to hack. In the observation chamber, the mood had transformed completely. What began as smug anticipation of human failure had become fascinated study of Deathworlder capabilities. Senior officials leaned forward, datapads forgotten, eyes fixed on the unexpected drama unfolding. Look at their thermal readings. Futrell gestured excitedly, mandibles clicking in scientific amazement. Their bodies are maintaining homeostasis in temperature ranges that would kill most sentient species. Their primitive endoskeleton should have fractured from the asteroid redirection. Noted medical officers Kanar, her gelatinous form pulsing with confusion. Yet they show only minor stress fractures that appear to be self-repairing in real time. The commandant's crystalline surfaces reflected cascading data patterns. Their cardiovascular system is unlike anything in our databases. Triple redundant blood filtering, enhanced oxygen carrying capacity, and the ability to shunt blood flow away from non-critical systems during stress responses. Evolutionary adaptations, Futrell explained. Earth's gravity alone is crushing by our standards. Add predators, extreme weather, tectonic instability, and radiation exposure. Their physiology evolved layers of redundancy we never require on our stable homeworlds. Inside the simulation, the humans moved with purpose toward their final positions. Jackson and Diego approached from opposite sides, taking advantage of the fortress's predictable defensive scanning patterns. Sasha established a sniper position on a ridge overlooking the Eastern Generator Complex, while Maya coordinated from the tactical hub they'd established. The Arctic timers are synchronized, Jackson confirmed via comlink. Detonation will coincide precisely with the next cooling system transition. Approaching Eastern Generator Complex, Diego reported, his movements a study in efficiency. Each muscle activation precisely calculated to minimize energy expenditure in the lunar environment. No defensive response detected. The observation room fell silent as officials realized the implications. The humans hadn't just found a solution, they'd completely circumvented conventional military doctrine. They're not attacking the fortress directly, Admiral Kelvor realized, compound eyes widening. They're creating cascading system failures of the simulation never anticipated. T plus 19 minutes, 40 seconds, the AI announced. Ready for final approach, Sasha confirmed from her position. Body perfectly still despite having maintained her stance for over 3 minutes. A feat of muscular control impossible for most species. Maya's voice came clearly through the comm system. Operation Earthshaker entering final phase. Execute on my mark in 3, 2, 1. The primitive timing devices activated simultaneously. Rather than explosive force, they released precisely calibrated vibration patterns into the lunar regolith. The vibrations propagated through the unstable substrate, reaching the Eastern Generator's foundations exactly as its cooling system began another transition cycle. For 3 critical seconds, the generator's defensive protocols experienced conflicting priorities, thermal protection versus structural integrity. In that momentary window of vulnerability, the shield harmonics fluctuated in a predictable pattern. Now, Maya ordered. Sasha's finger squeezed the trigger of what appeared to be a simple projectile launcher. The tungsten rod she fired traveled at tremendous velocity through the vacuum, its trajectory calculated to pass through the precise point where the shield would fluctuate. The observation room erupted as monitoring systems confirmed the impossible, a perfect shot through a shield vulnerability that existed for less than 2 seconds, striking the generator's primary coolant regulation system. Eastern Generator experiencing catastrophic coolant failure, the AI announced calmly. Shield grid reconfiguring. They did it with primitive ballistics, gasped the tactical officer. No energy signature, no detection possibility. Trell's appendages waved excitedly. Their muscle memory and visual processing, evolved to track prey animals across changing terrain, allows precision targeting beyond our best automated systems. T plus 19 minutes, 50 seconds, the AI announced. Shield grid integrity compromised. The moment the shields flickered, the humans exploded into action with breathtaking coordination. Sasha and Diego launched themselves across the impact crater at velocities that would shatter most beings' bones, their bodies naturally absorbing forces that would liquefy other species' organs. Jackson identified harmonic weaknesses in the remaining defense fields, creating momentary openings through scientific principles the fortress designers never anticipated. Maya led the final assault, her movements a blur as she navigated defensive fire with reflexes evolved to dodge striking predators. The simulation displayed the impossible, scenario complete, elapsed time, 0-2013. The academic observers sat paralyzed with shock. Shield grid failure confirmed. Defensive perimeter compromised, the announced as alarms blared throughout the fortress complex. The Eastern generator's catastrophic coolant failure had created exactly the opening the humans needed. Jackson and Diego converged on the breach point, moving with explosive bursts of speed that the fortress's targeting systems couldn't track effectively. Their movements seemed chaotic to conventional military doctrine, but contained a predatory logic evolved on a world where standing still meant death. Deathworlder mobility exceeding targeting parameters, observed a tactical specialist in the observation room. Their movement patterns appear random but contain complex evasion algorithms our systems can't predict. Maya's voice came through the comm system, calm despite her rapid advance. Sasha, trajectory calculation for synchronized entry on my mark. Sasha had already positioned herself on a ridge overlooking the breached section. Without hesitation, she launched herself into open space, her body arsing through the vacuum in a trajectory that would have been suicidal for most species. The fortress's automated defenses tracked her, energy weapons charging. "She'll be vaporized," gasped Commander Tonix. No shielding, no protection. But Sasha had calculated her jump perfectly. The moment the defense turrets fired, she tucked her body into a rapid spin that carried her through the barrage. One beam grazed her shoulder, the simulation registering a second-degree burn that would have incapacitated most beings. Her vital signs barely fluctuated. Pain suppression capabilities exceeding all known parameters, Futrell noted, mandibles clicking rapidly. They can compartmentalize sensory input and continue functioning despite tissue damage. Inside the fortress's defensive perimeter, Jackson had reached the secondary shield generators. Rather than attempting to breach them with weapons, he pressed his hands directly against the pulsing energy field. His muscles tensed as electricity coursed through his body, neurological monitors showing intense pain responses. Yet his conscious mind remained focused. "What is he doing?" demanded the commandant. "The energy discharge should render him unconscious instantly." "Electromagnetic resistance," Futrell explained. "Earth's magnetic field fluctuations and atmospheric electrical discharges have given them partial resistance to energy-based attacks." Jackson's body served as a temporary ground for the shield system, creating an interference pattern that Diego exploited. Moving with precision timing, Diego slipped through the momentary distortion, reaching the generator's manual control systems. Meanwhile, Maya had plotted her own infiltration route. The fortress designers had assumed no biological entity could survive rapid decompression between pressurized and vacuum environments without transition chambers. They hadn't accounted for a species evolved to withstand extreme pressure changes. Maya located an external maintenance port and deliberately triggered its emergency venting protocol. As an atmosphere exploded outward, she allowed herself to be pulled into the slipstream, controlling her tumbling body with core muscles evolved for precise movement under chaotic conditions. Voluntary exposure to decompression. Admiral Culver's compound eyes widened in disbelief. Their lungs should collapse instantly. Pulmonary adaptations, Futrell responded. Deep-diving mammals on Earth regularly experience pressure differentials that would kill most species. Their lung tissue can partially collapse and reinflate without permanent damage. The observation room fell silent as the humans converged on the fortress command center from 3 different entry points. The remaining defenders attempted to coordinate a response, but the humans moved with a synchronized precision that defied conventional tactical doctrine. "They're communicating without transmissions," noted a communication specialist. "Some form of intuitive coordination." "Pack hunting behaviors," Futrell suggested, evolved from cooperative predator species. Inside the command center, the final defenders positioned themselves for a last stand. They assumed the humans would need recovery time after their physically demanding infiltration. They were wrong. Moving as a single unit, the humans breached the command center's doors. Sasha disabled the primary defensive systems with a precisely aimed shot. Diego locked down the environmental controls, while Jackson neutralized the remaining security personnel using controlled force, incapacitating rather than killing. Maya reached the central command console and placed her hand on the verification scanner. For a moment, the simulation paused, as if unable to process what had just occurred. Then the A's voice echoed through both the simulation and observation room. Command center secured, primary and secondary objectives accomplished, civilian population preserved, collateral damage minimal, simulation complete. The digital clock on the main display froze, 0:2013. 20 minutes and 13 seconds to solve a scenario that had stumped the galaxy's finest tactical minds for a century. In the observation room, silence reigned. The officials stared at the screens, data readings, vital sign monitors, trying to comprehend how 4 cadets from a backwater Deathworld had accomplished the impossible. The commander's crystalline form pulsed with new patterns never before observed in his species, the closest equivalent to astonishment. Replay confirmation, he finally ordered, voice resonating through multiple surfaces. Full spectrum analysis. I want to understand exactly what we just witnessed. As the simulation powered down, the 4 humans regrouped in the center of the command center, breathing heavily but standing tall. Their vital signs showed expected post-exertion patterns, elevated heart rates, increased oxygen consumption, muscle fatigue, all within sustainable parameters. Well, Jackson said, wiping sweat from his brow, that was interesting. Think they'll finally stop calling us primitive now? Diego asked with a slight smile. Sasha shrugged, wincing slightly at her simulated burn. Probably not. They'll just create a new classification for us. Maya looked directly toward the observation room, knowing the officials were watching. They can classify us however they want, she said, but they can't ignore us anymore. Simulation violation. Biological unfair advantage. Protested senior instructor Klovax, mandibles clicking furiously. The Academy Council convened an emergency session as the 4 humans stood at attention, facing their accusers. They used primitive brute force instead of civilized tactics, argued one faction. The Strategic Command's representative, a veteran of actual conflicts, silenced the room. They identified a solution no other species could implement. Is that not the purpose of diversity in our ranks? Tactical computers analyzed the humans' approach, confirming its brilliance. The humans hadn't broken rules. They revealed entirely new possibilities through their unique evolutionary history. The council chamber hummed with tension as the 4 human cadets stood before the assembled officials. Behind them, holographic displays replayed key moments from their unprecedented performance. Jackson redirecting an asteroid with his bare hands, Sasha making an impossible trajectory calculation, Diego withstanding radiation levels that would kill most species, Maya adapting instantly to rapid pressure changes. This hearing will come to order, announced the commandant, his crystalline form projecting formal communication patterns. We are here to determine whether simulation result 72 Delta should be validated or invalidated. Senior instructor Kovac stepped forward, segmented limbs vibrating with obvious agitation. Honored council members, I submit that the human cadets deliberately exploited biological advantages that violate the spirit of the assessment. Which specific rules did they violate? Inquired Admiral Kelvor, compound eyes reflecting the chamber's lighting. Kovacs hesitated. The rules presume participants will employ civilized tactical doctrines rather than primitive physical methods. Nowhere in the simulation parameters does it state how objectives must be achieved. Countered Commander Tolnix, surprising everyone with her defense of the humans. Her feathered crest, once raised in skepticism of human capabilities, now stood tall with newfound respect. They repurposed an asteroid as a gravitic disruptor. Kovacs protested. They triggered regolith avalanches. They deliberately exposed themselves to vacuum, radiation, and energy discharges that would kill civilized beings. And survived, noted General Zakar, the Strategic Command representative. The veteran's scarred exoskeleton and missing sensory appendage testified to decades of actual combat experience. More importantly, they completed all objectives with minimal collateral damage and zero civilian casualties. The chamber erupted in overlapping debates, voices ranging across the auditory spectrum as different species argued their perspectives. Amid the chaos, Futrell's scientific observations cut through the noise. Council members, the xenobiologist called, mandibles carefully modulated for maximum clarity. I've completed preliminary analysis of the humans' performance. Their approach wasn't just physically impressive, it was tactically brilliant. Holographic displays shifted to show complex calculations, trajectory models, and system analyses. Futrell continued, appendages gesturing at key data points. The asteroid redirection created precisely calculated gravitational fluctuations at a frequency that resonated with the shield generator's power harmonics. The regolith destabilization forced defensive systems to prioritize structural integrity over perimeter security. The humans identified and exploited 23 distinct vulnerabilities that our own tactical systems never considered, because we've never needed to think beyond energy-based approaches. A hush fell over the chamber as officials processed this information. The commandant's crystalline surfaces reflected cascading data patterns as he integrated the analysis. "General Zakar," he finally said, "your assessment from a combat veteran's perspective." The scared general studied the humans for a long moment. Evolution shapes tactics as much as technology. My species relies on exoskeletal protection and overwhelming numbers. The Arxians developed energy manipulation. The Vrexian collective created adaptive camouflage. He gestured toward the humans. These Deathworlders evolved physical capabilities and problem-solving approaches unique in our experience. Different, yes. Primitive? He made a negative gesture. The most dangerous assumption in combat is believing your enemy thinks like you do. Maya stepped forward, maintaining proper protocol. Permission to address the council. After a moment's hesitation, the commandant granted it. Honored representatives, she began, voice steady. We understand your concerns. Earth is young in galactic terms. Our technologies lag centuries behind yours. But our world shaped us differently. She gestured to her teammates. Jackson can withstand forces that would shatter most beings because Earth's gravity demanded stronger bones. Sasha calculates trajectories instinctively because our ancestors had to intercept moving prey. Diego's resistance to radiation and temperature extremes evolved on a world with unstable climate and magnetic field. My adaptability to pressure changes comes from a planet mostly covered in crushing oceanic depths. She paused, making eye contact with various council members. We don't consider these abilities advantages. They're survival necessities on Earth, just as your species developed your own evolutionary solutions. The chamber fell silent as officials exchanged glances, communicating in ways unique to their respective species. General's car finally broke the silence. The simulation exists to identify tactical innovators. For a century, we've approached it with identical strategic doctrines, achieving identical suboptimal results. These humans showed us blind spots in our thinking. He turned to address the commandant directly. I recommend immediate validation of their results and tactical analysis of their methodology for integration into training programs. The commandant's crystalline form pulsed as he processed the recommendation. After several tense moments, he rendered judgment. Simulation result 72 Delta is hereby validated. The human cadet's performance will be recorded as 20 minutes, 13 seconds, a new academy record. His surfaces shifted to patterns indicating formal commendation. Furthermore, I am ordering a comprehensive review of all tactical doctrines in light of the innovative approaches demonstrated today. In the observation gallery, junior cadets of various species whispered among themselves, watching as the once disparaged humans received the highest recognition. The mood had transformed from dismissive curiosity to genuine respect, and perhaps a touch of healthy concern. Earth must be a terrifying world, murmured one cadet to another, to produce beings capable of such things. Not terrifying, corrected an instructor who overheard. Challenging. Remember this lesson well. Evolution shapes capabilities, capabilities shape tactics, and diverse challenges produce diverse solutions. The humans haven't just earned their place among us today. They've reminded us of something vital we'd forgotten. What's that, instructor? That sometimes looking backward is the best way to move forward. Graduation day arrived with unprecedented ceremony. The 4 humans received special commendations as founders of the newly established Adaptive Tactics Division. Species that once viewed Earth as a primitive backwater now sent observers to study human problem-solving approaches. They labeled us Deathworlders like it was an insult, Maya remarked as they received their officer insignia. They never understood that surviving Earth prepared us for challenges no other world could imagine. The Academy updated its curriculum, incorporating lessons from humanity's harsh evolutionary crucible. As their specialized starship prepared for departure on its maiden mission, the galaxy watched with new respect and a touch of healthy fear. The Deathworlders had arrived, and warfare would never be the same. The Academy's grand ceremonial hall gleamed under the light of 3 suns. Thousands of graduates from hundreds of worlds assembled in perfect formation, their diverse physiologies arranged according to centuries-old tradition. But today, tradition had been modified. 4 humans stood at the center of the formation, a position normally reserved for species with the longest Confederation membership. The Commandant's crystalline form pulsed with formal communication patterns as his voice resonated throughout the hall. Today marks the 479th graduation ceremony of the Galactic Confederation Military Academy. It also marks a profound shift in our understanding of tactical doctrine, evolutionary advantage, and the true meaning of advancement. From their position in the front row, Maya, Jackson, Diego, and Sasha stood at perfect attention. Their academy uniforms, once ill-fitting on their muscular frames, had been specially tailored for the occasion. The insignia on their collars displayed not just their exceptional academic performance, but a newly created designation, Adaptive Tactics Specialists. 3 standard months ago, the Commandant continued, these cadets from Earth completed our most challenging tactical simulation in 20 minutes and 13 seconds. Some called it impossible. Some called it unfair. His crystalline surfaces shifted to patterns indicating wry amusement. Some still do. But the Strategic Command has recognized what these humans demonstrated, that evolution shapes problem-solving in ways technology alone cannot replicate. Admiral Kelvor stepped forward, compound eyes surveying the assembled graduates. In response to the revelations provided by our human colleagues, I am announcing the establishment of the Confederation's Adaptive Tactics Division. This new unit will focus on incorporating diverse evolutionary approaches into our strategic doctrine. A murmur passed through the assembly. Such a significant organizational change hadn't occurred in over 2 centuries. And to lead this division, the Admiral continued, I am appointing Lieutenants Chen, Okoye, Petrov, and Rees as its founding officers. Holographic displays activated throughout the hall, showing footage from the humans' simulation performance. The assembled graduates watched in amazement as Jackson redirected an asteroid with his bare hands, as Sasha calculated impossible trajectory jumps, as Diego withstood environment extremes, as Maya adapted to rapid pressure changes. Thrall stepped to the podium next, mandibles carefully positioned in the formal scientific presentation pose. The Xenobiology Council has revised our classification system in light of recent discoveries. The term Deathworlder is now recognized not as a primitive designation, but as a specialized evolutionary category indicating species with unique stress adaptation capabilities. After the formal ceremony concluded, the 4 humans found themselves surrounded by graduates and instructors from dozens of worlds. Questions came from all directions, asked with newfound respect rather than disdain. Is it true humans can continue functioning after losing significant blood volume? Can all Earth species regulate body temperature internally? Do human children really practice falling to learn impact absorption? Maya fielded the questions with diplomatic skill, aware that this moment represented a crucial shift in humanity's galactic standing. As the crowds thinned, the four found a quiet moment together on a balcony overlooking the Academy grounds. Well, Jackson said, gazing at the specialized starship being prepared for their first mission, "This isn't how I expected our Academy experience to end." Diego nodded, studying the technical specifications on his datapad. "The adaptive tactics vessel has been modified specifically for our physiology. Higher gravity sections, radiation resistance, pressure chambers for specialized training. Plus, a tactical simulation lab incorporating Earth historical scenarios," Sasha added. "They want us to train mixed species teams in unconventional problem solving." Maya leaned against the railing, watching various species interact in the gardens below. "They labeled us Deathworlders like it was an insult," she remarked, fingering her new insignia. "They never understood that surviving Earth prepared us for challenges no other world could imagine." "And now?" asked Sasha. "Now they're starting to understand that evolution isn't linear. Different challenges produce different adaptations. Being physically resilient isn't primitive. It's just a different path." Commander Tolnix approached, her feathered crest now displaying the subtle blue tinge of respect. "Your vessel departs in 2 hours, lieutenants. The Strategic Command has your first mission parameters." She hesitated, then added, "I wanted to say, your performance has changed many minds about Earth's place in the Confederation, including mine." As the commander departed, the humans shared knowing glances. "So," Diego said with a slight smile, ready to show the galaxy what else Deathworlders can do. Jackson clapped him on the shoulder. 20 minutes was just the beginning. The simulation was controlled conditions, Sasha noted. Real challenges will be more complex. Maya looked toward the stars becoming visible as the system's suns began setting. Somewhere out there, Earth continued its relentless evolutionary pressure, shaping the next generation of humans who would venture into the cosmos. "That's what they still don't fully understand," she said softly. "Earth never stops challenging us. We never stop adapting." She straightened, squaring her shoulders. "Let's go show them what that really means." As their specialized vessel prepared for departure, diplomatic observers from a dozen worlds transmitted updates to their governments. The message spreading throughout the galaxy carried tones ranging from excitement to concern to cautious optimism. The Deathworlders had arrived, and tactical doctrine would never be the same.